All right, welcome back to, we're going to start Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is Motivating Behavior with Work and Rewards. So in Chapter 6, some of our learning objectives. Describe different approaches to job design. So here we're talking about something managers sometimes have to do is actually design a job. What goes on inside of this job? And how can we make it not terrible, which is to say, try to make it motivating so the workers will get something out of it so they're more than likely to do a better job. Number 2, discuss employee participation, empowerment, flexible work arrangements, things like that, and how they affect motivation. Number 3, describe goal-setting theory for motivation. Discuss perspectives of goal setting, always an important thing for managers to do. Number 4, discuss performance management. So how do we review people's performance? And number 5, describe how organizations use different kinds of rewards to motivate employees. So we've seen from the last chapter there's multiple theories of motivation, and as we learned earlier about management, what's a typical answer to solve a particular question? The answer is it depends, right? It depends on the people, depends on the circumstances, right? So there's no single theory that explains motivation. Each theory covers some facet of it. If you can figure out a theory that's covering all the facets, email me. We'll write a book together. We'll go on a consulting tour. We'll make some money. See, there's your motivation right there. So more than one theory or method can be used to enhance performance. The more ways we can think of motivating people, the better. Like when we talk about leadership, the more ways you can develop your leadership skills, right, the better. So truly is more is better. And each theory of management must be translated in operational terms means this stuff's got to work at work, right? Just saying it so doesn't mean anything. You've got to be able to make it operationalized. You've got to be able to make it happen. So enhancing organizational performance. Up here in the upper left box, we've talked about needs-based perspectives on motivation, right? We're going to talk somewhat about process-based perspectives on motivation. So a process-based would be things like something about the job. So for instance, flexible work arrangements, I have flex hours, right? I can work what time I get to work is variable. So I can get to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. I can get to work at 10 o'clock in the morning. But maybe the rules say I have to be at work between 10 and 2 so we can have meetings. But I can either come in really early and leave at 2, or I can come in not till 10 and then work late. And I like that because I'm a morning person. I'm not a morning person. I skip rush hour traffic or whatever, right? So those kind of things tend to they may or may not motivate people. Sometimes I don't like that because I don't get any I don't see anybody, right? I work at home and I don't get any collegiality. It's kind of like for college students, right? When you if you were to take all your courses online, if you never meet any of your classmates, then all you do is hear people like me, the professors, talk, right? You don't. It's different than the college experience where you're living in a dorm and have people your own age and all of that. All right, so work design. So we need to think about how we're going to design the work, how we're going to design jobs, right? So in terms of the designing each individual job, what are the inputs, what are the outputs, those are the qualifications, all that. So we saw what Frederick Taylor said, right? Again, he was the guy who said we should analyze the jobs, figure out the best way to do it, pick and train the right people, write those ways down so it gets done the same way every time because that's the best way. Right? So that's why they called it scientific management, because he said jobs should be scientifically studied. They should be broken down into small components, and they should be standardized for all workers doing those jobs. So everybody does things the same way. Now there's certainly efficiency things for that. And Adam Smith said, the economist, right, said we should follow the division of labor. Right, and certainly, so it wasn't Henry Ford, it was actually Adam Smith who talked a lot about that. Henry Ford later perfected it, but he made it much more commonplace with his assembly line for making cars, right? He had, rather than treat each car as a project and having a crew of workers team together and do many different things on his car, right? He had the idea of the moving assembly line. The work comes to the worker, and the worker does his one thing, and then the car moves on. To give you an idea how this works still today, at automotive plants, each worker does the same thing every 50 seconds, right? So the assembly line. We call that an indexing line. It's not continuously moving. It moves and then it stops, and then the car or part of the car is in front of you, and you do your thing, whatever your thing happens to be. You install your part of the car. You're the person who puts the side mirror on the driver's door, right? And it snaps in, and you go to the inside and you shoot a screw in there with a power screwdriver, and it's on. And you got 50 seconds to do that, and then the car moves on to its next spot. Right? That would be an example of something they've done. I have done that. One summer when I was in college, I worked in a TV tube factory where we did just that. The line would move, and then it would present me with the glass panel off the front of a TV tube. Now, this is not the flat screens that you have now. These are the old, heavy, thick TV tubes, and it was just a glass panel, not the whole tube. Well, the glass panels are thick, and glass is heavy, so these things weighed about 20-some pounds, I think, and I had 30 seconds to do this operation, and in this operation I had to pick it up 3 times, right? So I picked up 20-some pounds 3 times within 30 seconds. So essentially every 10 seconds I was lifting this glass panel up, right? And I did that all night long. I worked second shift from 3:30 till midnight. So I multiplied it up in my head one time, and I was lifting 16.5 tons of glass a night. Right? It was the same motion over and over and over again. Good thing I was 19 and in good shape. I will say that's not a bad job for college kids, because real quickly you learn to hate it. And when you hate manual work, when you go back to college and you're sitting in your desk doing calculus homework, right? Having a terrible summer job's not so bad, because it kind of we're talking about motivation. It kind of motivates you to do the tough academic jobs, because you realize the alternative, not so pleasant. Right? If I would have had to contemplate being in that job for many years, it would have been a totally different outlook of life for me. Right? So that's an example of a highly specialized job. So we get down to the bottom bullet here. Job design for efficiency can become boring and monotonous. And let me assure you, doing the same thing to TV tubes or TV panels every 30 seconds on second shift till midnight every night, including Friday nights, is boring. How boring? By the first Friday, I was singing Christmas carols to try to entertain myself. It was really, really boring.